And it is day 2, round 2 from the NFL draft out in Las Vegas, Nevada. We were out there for round 1 as Washington decided to move back, but went on 16 with and drafted Jahan Dotson. He was here in Ashburn, and so now we are waiting what Washington will do now in the second round. Julie Donaldson, Logan Paulson here with you. Okay, Logan, for 5 out of the last 6 drafts coming into this, they went defense first. Yeah. This time they decided to go offense with that first round pick. Now we're in the second round.
Yes.
And there's some linebackers that potentially could come up. There's some DBs that could potentially come up.
I think that kind of fits with what the team's philosophy is at this moment in the draft, right? I think you want to go best defensive player available. I think that Buffalo nickel spot is still up for grabs. Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State, hard-hitting safety. They love him in this building. He will be available. The question is he more valuable to this team than a guy like Nakobe Dean, who is your true Mike linebacker? He's a little undersized, but in terms of his intellect and a guy who can wear the green dot and kind of get people lined up and help Jamin, help Cole kind of be the best versions of himself intellectually. He's the guy that can get that done.
What about a Malik Willis?
Malik Willis, I think a lot of fans are going to be really excited about him. I get reluctant to go that direction, especially after what happened with Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. I think you want to support that guy. You want him to be confident. You want him to feel good about being the starter here. You invested all that money in him. Mm-hmm. Two draft picks, a third and possibly a second next year. You want to make him feel comfortable. You want him to know that he's the guy. And I know Malik Willis is tremendously talented, and he's not ready to start right now, and it would be a nice fit for this team, but I just think you want to kind of insulate the psychology of Carson Wentz as much as possible.
That is the big question. They did go around and look at all of the quarterbacks, but I guess you do have to think about the psychology. Should you take somebody? Yeah. And Carson realizes he's basically on a 1-year deal here. Right. He's got that 1 year guaranteed. Mm-hmm. And even when I was talking with him, I said, what is it going to take to be that franchise guy again? Because that's what he was expected to be in Philadelphia. And he said, first off, one of the biggest things that he has to do is he has to stay healthy so he can stay out there. And I know that they want to be able to give him weapons, which they did. Yeah. They want an offensive line to help be able to protect him as well.
Yeah, so I think that's another way they can go with this pick right now is an offensive lineman, right? They haven't really, it's been a very light offensive line draft up until this point in terms of the second round. But there's guys like Sean Ryan out of UCLA who's very dynamic, play tackle, probably moves into guard. Nice kind of squatty body guy who can move people off the spot. Great athlete for his size. Ryman is still on the board again if you want to go tackle and bump Cosme into guard. So there is some pieces here, and Ron did say they want to support him and keep him as healthy as possible.
Who do you like of the names that are still available for Washington to take here as we are on the clock, just waiting for the pick to come in?
I think the guy that jumps out to me is Brisker, is the Penn State safety. He's a guy that plays with tremendous physicality. He's like the embodiment of that Buffalo nickel position. He can cover. He's taller than you think. He's 6'2", got great length. They value that here in this building. That seems like the right fit. It doesn't seem like a reach, and he fits a need for this team. And Ron is always talking about fit and how important that is in their evaluation process.
A lot of people say, do you go for the fit or do you go for the best player available? And that's always the hard challenge between all of it. And Coach Rivera alluded to, you could go for the best player available, but they may not ever have that potential if they're not the right fit to be that best player in your system.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because there are some really outstanding defensive linemen on the board at this point. Perrion Winfrey, who dominated the Senior Bowl this last Senior Bowl, really dynamic player. Again, they need D-line rotation. Maybe he's the best guy on the board at this point, even though all these guys are maybe better fits, but maybe they have a higher grade on those guys because of the dynamic pass rush ability that Perrion Winfrey has.
So apparently we're getting very close to Washington making their pick. The NFL Network just showed that there was a lot of excitement, some cheering in the draft room, which means I believe that we'd be getting close to knowing who Washington is going to be selecting in the second round. We're waiting for Santana Moss and Chase Young to go to the podium because it was Roger Goodell, the commissioner, yesterday. But today they bring in the legends. So Santana out there, and he's actually walking on. And apparently Chase Young not with him for this one, so it is just Santana.
Yeah. When are they going to get you to do it, Julie?
Huh?
When are you going to call the pick?
I don't know. I mean, I think I need to put in a few more years before I can be considered a legend of any sorts. But Santana really enjoyed the opportunity to go out there. It is a big honor for that as well. So the pick is in. Santana's going on up there. You feel like there's a lot of anticipation right here?
I love the draft for this moment right now. Who they're going to pick, it changes the franchise, these kind of picks, these moments. So love it. It's changing some kid's life. How exciting is that for him and his family? You got to talk to Jahan Dotson yesterday. So fun. Can't wait to see
And
what it
there
is.
you go. It's from Alabama.
Oh yes, Mathis. Awesome, fantastic. Love that guy.
So what do you make of Mathis here?
So,
What is he going to be able to add to this
Yeah,
defense?
well, I love that. You know, you mentioned defensive players, best, like kind of most value, right? Mathis is kind of just a solid, consistent interior defensive lineman that played at Alabama and kind of is more of a traditional run-stopping player with some dynamic athleticism when you need it. So again, love the pick. I think it fills out a need with this team in terms of defensive line rotational depth. He's got, I think, the right mindset to kind of supplement the guys that are already here, and a piece that you can build around. So I think it's fantastic.
When will he be able to have an impact
I think
coming in here?
immediately.
Is he a starter immediately?
I think
too?
immediately he's a guy who can play nose. He can play a little bit of 3 technique, but I think you feel more comfortable at nose. And getting a true nose is something that I thought this team has needed to do for a long time, just because Allen, Payne are not. That's not what they major in. They're not. They want to rush the pass. They want to be in that 3 technique, find that mismatch against a guard, get a guy in there like Mathis with some athleticism who can eat double teams. I think it makes this defense better.
All right, defense it is with the second round. I think that was the one thing they opened up in the first round with offense and wide receiver, and now they go defense out of Alabama, adding more depth to that defensive line. So we will be back when we are back on the clock in the third round. It was Santana Moss making that pick, but we will be back for that as well. So make sure when we are on the clock in that third round, you come right back in. And then when the day is all said and done, we will have our post-draft wrap up of the first few rounds as well, and kind of allude to what they want to do to close out the day as well. So, all right, for Logan Paulson, I'm Julie Donaldson. We'll see you back here in the third round.